So, welcome everyone. This is like episode 5, Shark Attack Case Files. And today we are off to, if I can fucking find it, Japan. So, yeah, obviously, this is Japan. And the first attack happened, if you can see the visual here, I'll scroll in. So, this is like the southern part of Japan. This Matsuyama, this city here. So, the first attack happened in here. So, it's double bubble today. Going to run through 2 attacks. So the first one happened here, Matsuyama, southern part of Japan. And if we go through to the middle of Japan, uh, the second attack happened just off this peninsula here, which is I think called the Asumi Peninsula. So it's just off this bit of coast here. Second attack happened in here. So yeah, in terms of statistics, yeah, so you can see off this second visual is the first attack, 1992, and then a few years later there was another attack here, second attack, 1995. But statistically speaking, documented attacks, first one was 1955 and the last one was 2014. So there's only been 11 attacks in Japan documented and 5 fatalities. So 2 of those fatalities were great white sharks, which we're going to run through in this video, and then there was 3 attacks attributed to blue sharks. So hard to say how that was verified, but yeah. So we're just going to run through these 2 attacks. So before we get into the details of this attack, we have to understand as well there was basically this first attack happened in 1992 in April, but we also need to look at some other evidence that happened on February the 14th, 1992. So a few months earlier, in exactly the same spot, in this just off Matsuyama, Hori, Matsuyama, Japan. So a couple of months before, 14th of February 1992, in exactly the same area, and a diver was attacked doing exactly the same activity as this attack. So he was actually attacked like 4 times by a great white shark, and it was exactly the same length as this shark, so between 5 and 5 meters, 5.5 meters to 5 meters. So that the attack that happened in February, the diver was down collecting shells exactly as this guy was doing, and this shark circled him 4 times and eventually ripped his helmet off. But luckily that this guy managed to get to the surface, and he was pulled out completely fine, obviously minus his helmet. So obviously warning shots were fired, but probably by the same shark. But then moving forward, so then going to Sunday the 9th April 1992, so a few months later in exactly the same spot, this guy here, Katsu Harada, he was diving for bivalves again, just around 3:20 in the afternoon, in around 22 meters of water, which is about 70 feet of water in a new moon phase. So this environment here was good visibility. It's a sandy bottom, as I say. They're collecting shells, so they're divers tethered to the surface in relatively shallow water, so only 22 meters, and yeah, collecting these shells. And he was attacked and fatally injured. So the circumstances of this attack. So yeah, as I mentioned, they were only 22 meters of water. So according to a captain of one of the support vessels, Harada suddenly shouted, pull me up," through the radio comm, because as I said, they're tethered from the boat down with an air line and a communication line, collecting these bivalves, these shells. So the radio came through, obviously panicked, "Pull me up, pull me up, pull me up. Somebody help me." So the Harada was shouting through the microphone, which is connected to his helmet, and then shark, shark. And then suddenly there was like mechanical clanging noises from the boat, so they could hear these noises like, crunch, crunch. And then the radio comm just went silent, like flatline. So immediately the crew sort of went into action, and they pulled on the rescue rope, but they were unable to retract it. So they tied the loose hose to the boat and pulled it slowly as the boat was moving. But the rescue rope and the radio rope were severed. And then within 30 minutes they recovered the diving suit, but there was, yeah, literally no trace of this guy whatsoever. So even after an extensive search, they never found the body of this guy. So obviously it must have been the same shark that attacked this other guy before, and this shark obviously must have grabbed hold of him, just tore his suit up, as we've seen in similar attacks, and then just pulled him out of the suit. And you imagine this poor guy was probably just eaten by the shark, because yeah, after extensive searches, they searched the area for yeah, for days, weeks, and they found no trace whatsoever. So yeah, that was a tragedy, that one. And then so a few years later, just further up the coast, this at Sumi Peninsula. So on the 9th of March, a few years later, there was another guy, same activity, diving. So there's Shintaro Hara. This guy was diving again in the morning, and they were also diving for bivalves. God only knows why. It tastes like shit. So yeah, the sea was calm. First quarter moon, again similar water depth, 25 meters. I think the previous one was 22 meters. Same thing, same system, same sort of tethered diving support, almost a mirror image of the first attack. But this time there was actually a lot more boats in the area. So in this second attack, I think there was like 80 boats nearby. So a lot of activity. So this shark must have been pulled in by all these multiple people in the water, and probably just wanted to see what was going on. So Shintaro was diving for these bivalves again, and he had his wife in the boat, was operating the tether system, doing all the support work. Uh, yeah, and then according to eyewitnesses, what they observed from the surface is that, like, his bubbles, because when these guys are on the bottom, they obviously the bubbles are coming up through the water column, and what they observed first was these bubbles, the bubble column, like erratically moving from side to side, like the guy was being shook. So there's like erratic movement of bubbles, and then literally all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just boom, this shark just broke the surface with this guy in his mouth, just violently shaking him, shaking him, shaking him, and then just completely severed his. I think he was completely severed from the arm all the way down to the hip, just like a huge bite out of his whole torso, almost bitten in half. And then the shark just let him go, just completely disappeared. And then obviously they pulled him aboard, but yeah, the guy was dead. He must have died almost instantly. And his air tank in his belt could not be found, so he'd like been stripped, obviously, with because he probably, this guy got hit on the bottom, was just shook, just vigorously shook by the shark, probably over the course of, like, maybe 20 seconds. And then when the shark broke the surface with this guy in his mouth, it sort of probably finished him off, just bit him in half. And he was probably, yeah, I mean, when it hit the surface, the guy was dead. And they obviously, because they had half a body, they performed an autopsy. Yeah, and it was reported that the right half of his whole pectoral region, including his right arm, was severed and missing from the shoulder. So literally half this guy was never recovered. And it's actually funny because they actually found his equipment some months later, like literally 3 or 4 months later. They managed to recover his equipment, and they done further analysis on the bite radius, just to corroborate the size of the shark, which was believed to be, again, 5 to 5.5 meter great white shark. So yeah, and I mean, these three attacks, it could have even been one shark. You never know. It could be like the jaws of Japan, this one. So yeah, these scary stuff. But it's interesting that these attacks were exactly the same activity. So similar water depth, sort of 20 25 meters of water, collecting bivalves with this tethered system, which obviously makes a lot of noise, gives off a lot of bubbles, a lot of movement in the water, a lot of activity. Yeah, kicking up a lot of sediment. Yeah, just draw these sharks in, and yeah, you ended up with two fatalities here in Japan. So yeah, very interesting stuff. And I think that's it for today. So yeah, I'll try and get another video out as soon as I can, but I'm a busy guy. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Slaters.